back to G4G on YouTube. It is first time face reveal in a while. This is the first time I've got the camera hooked up and on in the new place. Behind me, you see the chair that is about a month old. It's called OSIM. It is their massage and gamer chair. It is really, really expensive. However, I kind of got tired of the massage topper that I had on my old chair. The old chair was breaking down, quite a bit. The leather was starting to go. And the massage topper by Comfier, I think was the name. Not Comfy, but Comfier. Just wasn't that great. So I splurged and got this OSIM and quite happy. My girlfriend sits here occasionally when she needs to get massages done. And she actually comes here for it, whereas the old chair she absolutely hated. So I'd say it's a step up, but let's go ahead and get into it, and let's take a look at the new Dragonflight cinematic, Take to the Skies, which has dropped today at about 3 hours ago. And the reason why we're taking a look at this is that later in the day, we will be able to watch the streams on Twitch and get the drops. And also, the Dracthyr are now available on live World of Warcraft if you have pre-ordered the game. I think if maybe today you pre-order it, you could still play today and everything. It's just a switch that they turn on for your account. So let's go ahead and get into this. Let's go full screen. And let's make sure the volume is pretty reasonable. All right, here we go.
I'm just a Galloway, I'm fishing in the ocean. I'm on the Colorado!
Wait a minute. Is this World of Warcraft or is this Magic the Gathering? Why does this look like Chandra Blaze? I'm gonna have to come back with that.
Hey man, look at all this weed down here. Well, somebody gonna be smoking himself silly.
That's Chandra Blaze. What the hell? I think I heard this is supposed to be a Wildhammer dwarf? Yeah, would that... Okay, that would be really cool if that's how Dragonflight worked. That you could Lucio off shit. Hey, it's Ysera! We brought her back in Shadowlands. Fan favorite. Uh-oh. Oh, shit. Razagath already? God, look at the size of Razagath. Can you imagine how big Galakron would be if this is the size of Razagath? My God. Ah, that looks like Jurassic World, where the thing in the pool, what was it, the Plesiosaur came up and did it? Alright, so here we have a Dracthyr. Throwing some fireballs. Oh, what?
You are not prepared!
That looked like Illidan. So, I guess that is a dwarf? Oh, hey, look, it's Dummy Mommy. It's Alex Draza. It's everybody's favorite titty dragon. That is stunning detail. Ha, Breath of Life. So your Dracthyr can actually do that. The DPS Dracthyr can not only cast a fireball that does damage, but you can cast it on yourself, and it does a heal, and it leaves a little bit of a hot and stack 3 times. So now you can see the root of that. Okay, I gotta check. We gotta check this out. This is... I'm pretty sure that's Chandra Ablaze. Where's it? Dude, come on. Tell me, alright, tell me that is not Chandra Blaze. Oh, almost. That is really, really close. I mean, obviously she's all redheaded and like flaming hair and everything, but yeah, that looks like a not on fire Chandra Blaze with a little bit of like Horizon Zero Dawn markings over there. Blizzard. Blizzard, come on. I mean, alright, look, dwarves are always mechanical and like, dwarves and gnomes are kind of steampunky and everything. That, you know, goggles and everything fit. And it is leather and not metal. It's hard to say what class it might be. Maybe rogue? So that's Albedo. My girlfriend and I got Albedo. She was not a pandemic kitty. The circumstances line up to her being a pandemic kitty. We got her in August of 2020, but she was a kitty designed so that my girlfriend had a cat that was mostly hers, whereas Arthas was, you know, had been with me alone for many, many years. And it was actually through Arthas interacting with Albedo that we began to suspect something may have been wrong with his health, and that's when we discovered he had the murmur, and he passed away about 2 years ago. My cat, Chewy... Oh, there he is. Hi, Chewy, come here. Let's see if we can get him in frame. Hi, Chewy. So here's Chewy. He's my ginger boy. We've had him since December of 2020, pretty much fairly quickly after Arthas had passed away. We adopted Chewy, and because I just knew that I was going to need a pet to basically express love to, since Arthas passed away, since he was such an integral part of my life for many, many years. And Chewy's a little bastard. He's in his terrible twos, but he's still extremely sweet. But yeah, let's maybe a rogue. Yeah, the leather could imply a rogue over there. It's really hard to tell. So that spin move is a upgrade to your dragon flying. This is an energy spender for your dragon when you're doing dragon flying. The troll, let's try and guess what the troll might be. Potentially, I see male-ish gear. I think it's more male than plate. Yeah, shaman maybe. Could be a shaman. The overall vibe that I get from this trailer, it's nice to see Horde and Alliance working together, and it's a different atmosphere, I think, in this expansion than we've seen before. So we have Vanilla and TBC, which Vanilla starts off with Horde versus Alliance, really. I mean, we had bads and evils that we needed to conquer and everything, but there wasn't really like a big bad until maybe AQ40. Naxxramas, you weren't really set it up to be a big bad, but maybe AQ40, you could say that dungeon represented the big bad of the expansion. TBC, the Horde and Alliance were, you know, pretty much generally joined, but still at each other's throats, and you had a big bad there, and Vosh and Kalthus, and then ultimately Illidan, a little bit Sunwell, but, you know, maybe not as much as what future expansions would do. And then, of course, Wrath is very much, let's join up, and we gotta fuck up Arthas. not my cat, the character who's named after. Clearly, everything about Wrath was building towards a big bad, and we were generally together for it, except for TOGC, Trial of the Grand Crusader. There, you had some fighting amongst yourselves a little bit. For the most part, we were joined together, and then Cataclysm happens, and again, we were joined together. We were joined together, of course, against Deathwing, aka Neltharion, which had a part in Legion and now has a huge part in the storyline of Dragonflight, so we're kind of coming full circle to that. And then you have Mop, and to me, and this is where I'm going to veer off the beaten path a little bit and say that I disliked Mop intensely, whereas I was fine with Cataclysm, and a lot of WoW players don't like Cataclysm because it represented a breaking of the old world, and we would eventually start pushing into the compressed talents. Well, we had compressed talents with old school talents, and then we would get to the compressed where it was every 15 levels. So a lot of people fault Cataclysm for that. That's why there's Classic Vanilla, Classic TBC, and now Classic Wrath. And I think Classic Wrath is one of the smartest things Blizzard could ever do once they started doing Classic. Some people are like, oh, are you going to see a Classic Cataclysm? No, because Cataclysm represents the dividing line where Cataclysm was shot in the head and buried in the backyard. So, Mop, I despised Mop. Partially because of a group of people that had joined the guild in that period of time and tried to take over. Very, very subversive element was in the guild. I played Mop to death, where I played the beta heavily and got to max level, and then I went backwards a little bit when the girlfriend joined me in the beta, and then I essentially replayed to max level again, and then the game dropped and I played to max level, and I went backwards and helped her account out a little bit. So like by the beginning of Mop, I had gotten to the max level basically like 4 times, and I just wasn't that crazy about the aesthetic of it. And I had a lot of friends who dropped out after Cataclysm because they didn't want to play Kung Fu Panda. And to me, Mop represented what you often see in anime series, the bikini episode, or like the beach episode or the beach season, where you have this timeline of the plot, and then it comes down in like a Back to the Future square where you get away from the plot for like a season or something, and then you come back. That's how I viewed Mop. And even being a limited anime fan that I am of like Bleach and, you know, basically Bleach and a few others. I'm not into like Naruto or One Piece or anything like that. I even know about that, and that's what Mop felt like to me. It felt like the beach season, and I didn't particularly just like that expansion. And a lot of people get upset with me when I say that, and like, oh, you know, Mop was so good and all this other stuff, and yeah, it was a bad expansion for me. I had started a new job at the time that was soul sucking, and really didn't like it whatsoever. So then came Warlords of Draenor, which is a rather universally hated expansion, and they missed the mark so much on that one. It's like they started it and they were like, man, I'm really tired, and they went back to bed, and they just kind of abandoned that whole expansion over there. There's so much you missed, like Shatra and everything. Warlords was okay. It had potential to be a great expansion, and it had potential for me to like it more than Mop. I mean, timey-wimey bullshit of going back to an alternate and grand, that's kind of fun. And then Legion drops, and Legion is obviously phenomenal, considered sort of like a Wrath Part 2 for how it rebuilt the fan base a little bit, and then they shat the bed in Biffa, and then they shat the bed in Shadowlands. But back to my original point, Mop was like, again, Horde versus Alliance. Hi. Horde versus Alliance, butting heads. And yeah, towards the end, you had a little bit of the big bad in Garrosh. But for the most part, it was, we have this new land. Horde is greedy. Alliance is greedy. We want to exploit the land. We want to exploit the pandas. We want to get them on our side so that we are the stronger race. Or the stronger faction. And that's how it's going to go. Then we come back to Warlords of Draenor, where again, we're fighting the big bad of, Garrosh. He's set up to be the main villain of the entire expansion, and it sticks. They don't do a Final Fantasy swerve, where it's like, hey, this is going to be your big bad up until the last dungeon, then you find out he's not. It's this other guy named Necron. It's not Kuja, it's Necron. They didn't do that, so at least kudos to that. There's Galakrond. And then you had back to the big bad of Legion. We need to be combined, and we need to fight Gul'dan and the Burning Legion. So you had a big bad entity, the Burning Legion. You had big bads in Gul'dan, but he went out early. So they kept that one fresh. Like, you had a big bad, but you got to him, and then you found out it was a bigger bad. So, Legion was phenomenal in what they did and getting to Sargeras and everything. Then comes Biffa, which is again back to Horde versus Alliance, not necessarily truly a big bad, except for in the later raids. You had the setup to the old gods being the big bads, and you had the teasers, but it was back to more like vanilla. And Mott, where there's a resource, the Horde is greedy, the Alliance is greedy, we have to get this Azerite, the blood of the planet. We need to be the goblins, like, exploiting oil on Earth and everything. We need to butt heads. And then we come back to Shadowlands, where it's the big bad again. Here in Dragonflight, at least what we're seeing now, it's potentially a big bad in Galakrond. There's been whispers of it, and that's what people are thinking. And Razageth certainly could potentially represent that. That's a valid thought. But this is... I hope it's not a beach season expansion. Blizzard can't do this. After the failure that was Biffa, after the failure that was Shadowlands, Blizzard really has to have a concise expansion pack. Is it going to be fun? So far, yes. The tree's coming back, and you're getting back classic talents, and you're getting back talents that were in artifacts and legendaries and everything. Phenomenal. It's good to see an almost Rift-style tree. Where you have the class tree, then you have your spec tree and everything like that. I think that's phenomenal. But this is a vibe that I've never seen before for an expansion, where it's not a big bad joined together like this. It's not Horde versus Alliance like this. It's sort of like Horde and Alliance coming together to heal at a hot springs. It's sort of like, hey man, we just got through Shadowlands, we just got through all of Sylvanas' bullshit and the Jailer's bullshit and all the orchestration that maybe the Jailer is behind everything. We're gonna go sit in this hot tub in Japanese mountains with snow around us. We're gonna sit in this hot tub with the white monkeys, and we're just gonna chill out. That's sort of the vibe that I'm getting from Dragonflight, is that we are, and the cinematic shows it. You had a Wildhammer dwarf, and you had a Zandalari troll, and they're both in their new Camaros, having a nice fun race down the street and everything. They're drag racing. It's an interesting feel, because we've never had an expansion like that. We've always had be together to fight for the greater good, but there's still maybe some tensions there. Always. Wrathgate with the Blight and everything brings that up. This is like we are together because we're taking a big sigh of relief. It's like, all right, we're back from the land of the dead. Dark, again, sort of like Cataclysm going into Mob. We're done with like dark and fire and real evil, massive evil, to chilling out in this lush green land and pandas and the tillers with your farm and everything like that, and just some lightning bugs and some crickets and some Asian tigers and everything. Dragonflight sort of feels like that. It's the relief from an ominous purple, dark, black expansion and everything like that. So it's going to be interesting to see how Dragonflight works out, in my opinion, because I think this is really the first time that they've done this. And yes, of course, obviously, if Galakrond is revealed to be the big bad, then we're going to be working together to down Galakrond, because he was ready to fuck up the world. Actually, as we're like kind of seeing right now, he was going to wreck the place. And we created the Dragon Soul, and Dragon Soul was used against him because the Dragonflights were not strong enough to really have a chance, so they had to make this magical golden frisbee to defeat Galakrond and have a chance at keeping our world together. So Galakrond will definitely represent the big bad if, in fact, he shows up. And that also reminds me is that I would love to see them do something with Dragonrest Temple in Northrend. What an abandoned place that is. You look at the Caverns of Time, and over the years they've added instances to it, and they've built it up, and every nook and cranny gets filled out like you would expect. But Dragonrest, or Wormrest Temple, feels like you have all those portals there, and all those notches, and all those rounded corners where something could be. And we have two things. We have Sar 3D, and we have Sartharian. Sartharian with Sar 3D and everything, and Hallion, the purple one, from the end of Wrath of the Lich King. By the way, pretty much considered one of the most universal missteps in Wrath. There wasn't a lot of missteps in Wrath, but Hallion was one of them. It was a filler raid that people were like, where does this fit in? The gear was eh. I think there's maybe a giant two-handed mace in there that's good, if I remember correctly, or staff. But for the most part, Hallion was like, why? If it was earlier in the expansion, like maybe after Sar 3D had generally been conquered, they put Hallion there, that would have been good as another Onyxia-style raid. But at the end and everything, and especially the heroic version of it, weirdly placed. And that was a misstep, but wouldn't it be so good to see that area built up? Dragonflight, everything's about dragons. Why not get some new things in Wormrest Temple? I really hope they do that. I hope that area becomes the Cavern of Time for this expansion pack. I think it would be a huge misstep if they didn't do it, and I really hope they will. So, that's it. That's it for me, guys, on this one. I don't know how long the video is. I was hoping it was a little shorter, but here we are. We're getting so close to Dragonflight. I'm excited. I have taken my my standard week off for it, and I'm looking forward to it. I think I'm going to need it this time around. And yeah, let's see how this expansion pulls out. Blizzard has to save themselves with this expansion, and hopefully they can do it. The trees are a good sign. Dracthyr evokers are a good sign. Dragon riding and the dragon races are kind of fun as hell. Supposedly there's going to be PvP dragon races, which is going to be interesting. They better do the raids well, and the plot better be cohesive what not a lot of those moments where like, so what about this thing? And you're like, eh. What was that? Topic change, you said? Subject change? So, we'll see. And if you're a World of Warcraft fan, I will see you guys out there. Napalm Dawn out.